And so what they do is they say, okay, we'll do a cutoff here, and the first version of BI 4.3 will have this functionality, and then we'll move, right, the other functionality we were planning to put in there, that will be in Service Pack 2, and this other one will be in Service Pack 3 and Service Pack 4. And then it gets even more complicated, because if you look at Service Pack 3, for example, you had this fantastic new feature called Data Mode, right, which enables you to do data profiling inside of Web Intelligence and be able to combine, right, different data sources inside of Web Intelligence and perform your own transforms and manipulations on that data, right, inside of Web Intelligence. Guess what? They couldn't get it finished completely for SP03, so they broke up the functionality over 2 releases, right? So SP03, you get half of it, and the other half comes in SP04. So you'll see this a lot with the features that we'll be talking about today. So, so basically today we extended the meeting. I don't think you'll see that until probably April, May of 2025.
There's no way to.
And it will have less functionality, more fixes, but there might be some new pieces that they just want to put in there. Because what's going to happen is when they release BI 2025, and say they do release it January 2025, it will have a lot of issues. It will have lots of bugs. It will have, you know, and nobody's going to touch it for months. And so everybody else will say, no, we'll stay on SP04, and then they might even go to SP05. And so I don't really see user adoption of BI 2025 until probably the beginning of 2026. That's what I think will be realistic. So here is the roadmap right here. And if we move this to where we are today, because that's starting in 2022, and we're coming up near the end of 2023, right? This here is Service Pack 4, right? So this is about to be released next month in December, and this is what we're going to talk about today. And I haven't stuck Service Pack 5 in there because they just haven't given us a date for it at this time. And will there be a Service Pack 6? Don't know. Depends on what happens. But as you can see here, BI 2025 is supposed to come along at the end of 2024. And so this will then become, right, the new mainstream release starting in 2025. And 4.3 will continue to be supported through to the end of 2027. A couple of important things to bear in mind here. People ask me these questions all the time. Is things like the UMV universe, the old universe, they are still fully supported in BI 4.3, which means that you can still continue to run with those old UMVs until the end of 2027. But now obviously is the time to start thinking about, if you haven't already, getting those converted to UNXs. So looking at 4.3 SP3, which came out last December, the big functionality, as I said, was the data mode, where you could preview your data, you could do facet navigation, you could visualize the data flows, very much like ETL. You could combine data flows together, and you could do transforms on your data. That was the big new functionality. But also they extended, some of the capabilities where you could access OneDrive now from BusinessObjects. You could export to it as well as read from it. There was some new connectivity. There was a new trellis chart. There was some self-justification. A lot of really cool things. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. Today, we're going to look at Service Pack 4 and what's coming in December. And so a lot of new things here, but once again, the focus and concentration is around web intelligence. There are some things happening on the Crystal side. Who uses Crystal reports here? Right, one person. And it's all relatively good news. They're finally doing something. My concern is that has it been too long? Right? Because, you know, now they're going to, you know, as part of this SP04, you're going to see Crystal reports will now support UNXs. Right? But how many people used UMVs with Crystal reports? It was a very, very small percentage. So that's not a big deal. But since Crystal reports for enterprise is going away, they need to do that because those people were using UNX universes. So therefore, they'll, you know, that will help them out. But then, you know, one of the things that we know because we use InfoBurst with Crystal reports and so forth is that, you know, they haven't touched that SDK in a decade. And it's still the old, you know, web-based SDK. And so everybody else and everything else in BusinessObjects is running on RESTful. And so they're telling us there will be a new RESTful SDK for Crystal reports. Right? No. Well, starting perhaps, right? But my question is, and I will be over there in December to ask them face to face, is how are you going to do that? How are you going to retrofit a RESTful SDK to an existing product? You know, because the way you would do it is you would rewrite all the code on top and do a lot of different things. So I want to know what they're going to do. Is it just a kludgy fix, or is it going to be done properly? Right. So, but again, you know, if you think about where the product direction is going, particularly for BI 2025, right, they will be supporting IDT UNX universes, web intelligence, Crystal reports. That's the direction. And so they better get it right, okay, because that's the future for the next decade and beyond. So with that said, I'll hand over to Roxanne, who will take you through some of these new SP4 features.
Okay. We would have loved to do a live demo for you, but so these are print screens that they have given us, and also from the presentation that they did for us at the Speak BO experience. So this is a look at the query panel. So they created an actual query panel for Crystal to be able to utilize some of the universes there, and they wanted it to look exactly the same as the query panel in Webby. So they have added that. And then also it's viewable in the Fiori style. So you're seeing Crystal inside of the Fiori Launchpad. So they've added that. They've also added this export to PDF or a password protected PDF, and that it supports variant parameters if you have any of those. All right, data mode. This, they did really expand a lot of the functionality. In SP3, they gave us data mode and the ability to join data with a left join and a pen. Now you see that they have expanded that to include a full join, an inner join, which is really nice. And then these extra two here, left join without intersection and full join without intersection. So I think those are going to be great additions, things that we've wanted to do for many years. Now we'll be able to do with SP4. So that was a great addition that they're giving us. Another new addition they're doing with this is once you have that new combined cube, you'll be able to export the cube itself, either as Excel or as CSV. Can you do that? whether you can schedule that. Now also you can combine cubes, multiple cubes. So in the SP3 version, once you combine a cube, then that cube was no longer available to be combined with other data sources. Now in SP4, you can reuse that cube with other data sources. So that's what they're showing here in this example. So they're using this universe data set to combine with an Excel data set for this new data set, and then also combining the universe data set with this freehand SQL to create another data set. So you can reuse it. I think it's going to be really cool. It really, traditional merging still works the same as before. The other thing that you will be able to do is combine multiple cubes at once. So the example that they showed us for SP3 is they combined the universe data with their Excel data, and then with that new cube, they combined another cube to it. So steps to that. In this version, this next version, you could do all three at once. And then it shows in the combined cube button, or that window that pops up for the new combined cube, you can specify which type of join you want for each one of those as well. Okay. All right, and then they added some more usability enhancements, little icons to show if there was any kind of like data transformation done in that data set to show you that. They also added, so in when you combine a cube, as I mentioned before, they didn't keep the other data cubes. And now that you have that ability, they wanted to give the users the ability to either show those data cubes or not show them. So you could show or hide them. So let's just say, for example, I combined my universe data set with an Excel data set. Do I still want each of those to be available for the end users to use separately than the combined cube? If I want to let them do that, we can show those cubes, or you can hide the cubes. So that's an option. It's nice that they gave us the option to show or not show. And then they gave us more options here to edit the query, to clone the combined data set, and showing the timestamp. All right, using Webby as a data source. Right from the beginning, once they added that, we had to use a workaround to get fresh data, updated data in that new data set. So it's all well and good to build a report from a Webby report, but you don't want it to be static. So we had to schedule the report to use the latest instance. Now in SP4, they added this little button here that says keep data up to date and refresh. Now it will automatically refresh each time, which is what they should have had before. So, right. I wonder what the default will be.
Okay, another question.
Just a little bit.
Well, this
Two. Right. Yep. Yes. Yep. 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 Yes. Mhm. Yep. That would be the current way of doing it. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Finally, we can dynamically hide a column in report. We wanted that forever. So not just the ability to hide a column, but hide it with a formula to put it in there. We really needed that for a very long time. So it's great that they finally, how many reports have I like formatted to try and hide the little borders and all to make it look like there's not a column that I'm trying to hide. So this is great that they finally given us that. And then in the inter-document linking, I'll be showing an example of this in my second session here of where with inter-document linking, you can pass information. So not just open that other link, but pass the selection from an input control through to that. They had that working in SP3, but now they added that functionality for the spinner, the slider, and the double slider input controls as well. The maps, this is kind of a nice, cool feature that they added. So you can now zoom into the map, and then they have this little floating window here. And you just move that floating window, and it takes the zoom to that new area. So if I moved this little floating window down to Africa or over to Asia, it would focus in on that area, that same zoom level. So I think that's a nice addition. They also added more cities to the geographic database that ships with BusinessObjects, and they removed the restriction for the cities must have at least 100,000 people, inhabitants, before they'll show up in the list. So they removed that. Okay. Yeah. I just did a sample for this for in New Mexico and use their counties, and they have a county only 625. A whole county. A whole county. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. The send to options in SP3, we only had send to via inbox, and now they added email, FTP, SFTP, and file system. So those are like, they're just bringing it up to speed what we had in 4.2. All right, some user face. So this, I think, pardon? Yes. Yep. Going to be very helpful. We can now do a search for measure, and it will reduce the list and show you all the variables that are using that measure. So with that big report you have with 150 variables, now you'll be able to focus in on the ones that you need to look at. They added some more user interface functionality. They added showing the name and the CUID in the document object. Navigation, what else? showing the filter bar information in reading mode as well. Now this is my other second favorite thing that they've added. In a report, you know, when you format a measure, say currency with no decimals, and then you build another thing and you have to reformat. Now you can format once, and every time you use it in a report, you know, that's going to be a time saver for us. Yes, this one is my favorite. Finally, now they call this compact data display mode. So you know the 1M 100K. They had kind of a hack for that, but it wasn't. We couldn't do a mix of 100K with millions. That's what we couldn't do. It was really a hack. So now they've given us this new compact view of the data, and you could specify in there how many decimals you want to show, things like that. Sure. I would think. Yeah. And we haven't had a chance to touch it, so yeah. A fair point. Now you can group prompts. In this example, they're grouping the time prompts and the geographic prompts together. They've added some custom properties. It's going to be an interesting, you see how they added this and CP, which stands for custom properties, to this URL. So they've given us additional parameters that we can use with that link, the OpenDoc link, to pass information through. I think this could be helpful possibly in dashboards to be able to pass information back and forth. All right, the semantic layer, they've added some improvements too. They're improving the UNV to UNX conversion, making that run smoother. They've improved the UNX performance, improved the loading time, and various other little catch-up things as well. Multi-source universe. All right. And now I think it's on to you, Paul.
But really, everything else on public about that tells you fortunately, like you said at the beginning, they're really like 2025. They're not saying too much about this. As I said, I'll be over there next month, and I'll come back next year with a lot more relevant information. But this is intriguing. This is to speak to your experience. Including when what they're talking about is ability to be able to take interactive web reports or webby dashboards and distribute them, right, so they can be used without being connected back to the server. You know, so you know, my first question was, well, was it going to be license free? Or does every user have to have a license, right? Because if there is no additional license fee for that, you can distribute it that way. That's very powerful because that could be an alternative to sending things out to PDF and so forth. Because then you can interact with it, right? And use those functionalities. But well, we'll see what that means. And the other big thing I they want to change the whole installation process. It's well overdue. We all know that even doing an upgrade of business objects is a multi-week, sometimes multi-month task. It shouldn't be that way, right? You shouldn't want to put in like 1 month or so they're probably going back to the drawing board with that, seeing if they can find, a better way to do upgrades. And I know they've been struggling because they involved me in some of the preliminary interviews with customers about what should be the BI 2025. And they kept asking questions like, well, would you care if we decided what the repository was? So we said it's the SQL server, it could be everything else. And it was intriguing, but many of the customers said, oh, we have to choose that. But you can see the problem, right? But if you support a range of different databases to your repositories, suddenly it's not simple because you've got to be able to connect to and support all these things, right? And so I can see where they're heading. They're thinking direction. Well, if you could streamline the installation, right? But then not everyone's going to agree to that. It's interesting, but anyway. Okay, so again, just a reminder about what's going away at the end of 2027. BI 4.3 goes away. Key things. Anyone using the mirror?
Not by choice.
Get off quickly. Get off quickly. Anyone using Mr. Reports for anybody? Analysis on that. Live office. Anyone using live office? Again, business objects profile is the 4.3 is all HTML5. This will need to have a separate mobile application now. Big one, of course, is so BI 2025 will be the first release where there will be no UFD, just not be delivered. There, the other one is multi-source universes. Anyone using multi-source universes? Again, yeah, but again, you can see with what's happening with data mode that really this use of multi-source universes most of it goes away because you don't do all of this inside of web itself. But that's not the real reason they're getting rid of it. The real reason is they can't support it. Keeps breaking. It just doesn't move well. So anyway, those are the things to watch out for. And of course, going forward, they're only going to support Windows and Linux, so they won't be, supporting the Solaris and the AIX and other Unix platforms and so forth. But most people are running either Windows or Linux today anyway.
Updated until 2028 October.
That's really interesting. I mean,
I'm surprised. I'm shocked.
yeah, I'm not, because if you think about what happened to desktop intelligence, they got, it was 12 years.
Yeah.
Desktop intelligence was retired for 12 years in a row.
I keep wondering about the
I think you might find the same thing. I think it's a good point. Because all it takes is 2 or 3 very large and influential customers with a little bit of pressure, and that's, you know.
Yeah.
But you see the same with Microsoft. I mean, how many people are running, you know, Edge in legacy mode because they still need to run IE, right? And Microsoft keeps saying, oh, well, you know, we can't keep that going forever. But, you know, yes, you can.
If it was Microsoft, it might have been part of the reason. They had huge problems going to. It did come out of nowhere. I've been warning people for years, we gotta get you off the mirror, we gotta get you off the mirror. And then I haven't told them that, but I got the October statement.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna do it, they gotta get off the mirror.
It's not a bad strategy.
Everything's wrong.
Yeah, it's not, it's definitely not a bad strategy to do that. But yeah, the other one on Windows, when I was at IBIS, you know, Windows 2008 servers are going to be supported anymore, right? I think it was cut off, or 2012, I can't remember. But there was a cutoff, and I was talking to this customer, and I said, well, you told me that you have to get off of all the, you know, off your servers on BusinessObjects, and they're running on, you know, 2012, and that's not going to be supported after September. And he said, oh no, all you have to do is pay Microsoft. And they will give you an extended support agreement to support the old thing, right? And they'll keep supporting us. And I said, are you sure? He goes, oh yeah, we got 637 servers running it. So I'm thinking, yeah, okay, makes sense. Makes sense. So anyway, yes, I mean, software companies are going to do that. If you pay them, they'll do that today. Okay, so